Confessions One Can Only Have Over Tea Time. Written by Cookie Gamer. Read by Arashi. The air crackled with anticipation as Ferdinand carefully prepared the coffee for his companion. Companion in what? Now was not the time to ponder the meaning of Hubert's words. He must only focus on the task at hand. By preparing the perfect cup of coffee, he would demonstrate the hard work, care, attention, and diligence that he would put into the relationship. Most importantly, it would convey the depths of Ferdinand's love for the mage, if he accepted, which he did. Perhaps this tea time was to cement their courtship, but Ferdinand wanted to be certain before jumping off a cliff and making a fool of himself. The thought that his long-seated feelings may be reciprocated, and with enthusiasm at that, had Ferdinand's hands shaking with excitement as he carried the pot over to the table. Carefully, like he had practiced 100 times before, he held the top steadily as he poured the coffee, stopping at the optimal cup fullness level. The cup was full, but not dangerously so. It was safe to pick up without fear of it flowing over. Even in his nervous state, Ferdinand was sure that his etiquette tutors would praise his hosting skills. He set the pot gently down and smiled as Hubert poured him tea. The teapot hit the table with a slight clink, and the next stage of the plan commenced. Ferdinand went to pull out Hubert's chair for him, as any noble ought to do, when he bumped into the man in the middle. They laughed rather awkwardly as they turned on their heels and took a seat. Did Hubert practice this tea time as much as Ferdinand? Is that why they met? Patience, he told himself. All questions will be answered shortly. Only when it came to matters of the heart, Ferdinand was never quite patient. Ferdinand raised his cup and gave his well wishes to Hubert, which he received in kind and took a sip. It was perfect. The leaves are steeped to perfection, allowing the rich undertones to mingle kindly with the citrus top notes, while leaving room for the all-important heart notes. A balance rarely achieved, even by an avid expert on tea. The only way to achieve such a result is through constant hard work and dedication to the craft. Did he? Ferdinand raised his glass to Hubert, and found a similar expression to what must be painted on Ferdinand's face. The tea was excellent, and to achieve that result, Hubert must have practiced the art of tea-making, just as much as Ferdinand spent learning how to brew coffee. The shared realization caused heat to bloom across Ferdinand's face, and the faintest blush dusted Hubert's cheeks to his joy. Ferdinand turned his gaze to the table, too overwhelmed with emotion to look at anything but the decorative doily underneath his teacup. He really thought of everything. Like Ferdinand had done for him, Hubert learned to make tea to impress him. If that were the case, that must mean the gift of tea, and those lovely words meant precisely what Ferdinand hoped and dreamed about. The feelings he kept hidden out of fear of rejection yet threatened to spill out of him whenever they were alone together. They were reciprocated. Ferdinand stilled his leg bouncing nervously, and cleared his throat twice before attempting to speak. "What an excellent blend! My compliments to the chef." His comment garnered a small smile from Hubert that made Ferdinand's stomach flip. "Yes, well, I should say the same to you. It is rare to find such a masterfully brewed cup of coffee." "Oh, why, thank you." Ferdinand tucked a stray piece of hair behind his ear, and smiled somewhat abashedly. "About what you said earlier." Hubert hesitated, his eye shifting from Ferdinand to his coffee. "Is it—" "Yes," Ferdinand answered quickly. "The same question has been floating around his head since their confession of sorts. As I said earlier, a nobleman does not go back on his word. I meant every word of it." An unusually shy smile graced Hubert's face as he considered the noble's words. "I see. I must confess to sharing the sentiment. Yet you must know I do not mince words. I am a cruel, harsh man, confined to the shadows, while you are the shining sun. Do you truly—" He trailed off at the end, with the question hanging in the air. "I do not claim to be privy to the knowledge of what you stew on those secret missions you are always off on, but I do know this." Ferdinand's gaze turned steely. "You are good, Hubert. I know our minds can be our own worst enemy. I have had plenty of experience with it myself. But you, Hubert, are good, and none of the lies I'm sure you will use to deflect my claims." His expression grew soft as he continued. "I have seen what kind of man you actually are, the pep talks you give to Caspar, the food you sneak out to give to the monastery strays, the flowers you tie in your hair for Bernadetta. Without a doubt in my heart, I can say that you are a good man I wish to stand beside." Hubert stared at him, searching for any trace that this might be an elaborate prank, or some sort of joke, but he would not find anything short of sincerity and undying love. "It seems I have rendered the great Hubert von Vestre speechless," Ferdinand quipped when the silence became too much for him to bear. "If I have misread the situation, please tell me at once. One word from you and we shall not speak of this again." "As hard as it may be," Ferdinand refused to look away. He wished to convey the depth and sincerity of his feelings, and hoped it came across. It was worth it to watch as a smile appeared on Hubert's face, as he slowly reached across the table and brought Ferdinand's hands to his lips. "You are not mistaken. I fear I must make amends if I led you to believe my affections are anything less than substantial." Hubert removed his glove and laced his fingers with Ferdinand's, earning a small gasp from the noble. "In truth, you have bewitched my body and soul, and I do not wish to be parted from you once more." "Oh, Hubert!" Ferdinand smiled softly as he dared. Butterflies swarmed around him as his stomach flipped, and he struggled to contain his excitement. Here he was, taking tea with the man he loved while they held each other's bare hands in public. If his father could see him now, well, he never had anything kind to say anyway. Ferdinand felt too happy to care about social etiquette at this moment. "You may call me the sun, speak of yearning from afar, and you fear you could taint it." Ferdinand shook his head with a smile. "What you fail to consider is that the moon is brilliant, and without it, the sun is thrown out of balance and cannot shine." Ferdinand pulled Hubert's free hand towards him, stuck in the hazy mist of love, and laid it upon his heart. In public, the scandal, but Ferdinand could not find it in himself to care about what others may think, not when Hubert graced him with a soft smile and an irrevocably fond expression. "My sunshine," Hubert whispered, with a kind of reverence, like if he spoke too loudly, the moment would shatter and slip out of his hands. "My moonlight." Ferdinand squeezed Hubert's hand and pressed it closer to his chest, hoping he could feel how his heart beat only for him. It earned a warm smile as Hubert dropped his hand for only a moment to guide Ferdinand to his chest, where his heart beat just as loudly. A wave of affection threatened to overwhelm him if he did not speak his mind with haste. "It would appear our beverages have gone cold. Would you escort me to my quarters so I may procure the needed supplies to replenish our drinks?" Hubert's eyes swept over him. "Why, of course." Ferdinand stood, but he did not move to return to his quarters. Instead, he stepped forward and gently rested his forehead against Hubert's. "My dear, let it be known how ardently I adore you, and wish to let the world know of our courtship. In all my years, I never allowed myself to dream that someone as bright and kind as yourself could love a sinister shadow-dweller such as myself. And I never dreamed I could love so deeply and have my affections returned in full." Ferdinand tugged on Hubert's hand and took a step back. "Come, my sinister shadow-dweller, we must make haste lest we run out of sunlight." Hubert chuckled. "The noblest of nobles wishes to engage in premarital hand-holding under the sun's watchful eye. Now that is one for the history books. Oh, hush! I can do much worse than hold hands with the man I love, I will have you know." A smile spread across Hubert's face as he followed Ferdinand to his quarters. Their hands joined for the world to see.